All right, speed of decisions. So I was on a call with a bunch of entrepreneurs, construction guys all across the country. Been talking to these guys for 5, 6 years. We have like a monthly call where all of us get together, kind of share what's top of mind. Sometimes we have a topic. Sometimes we bring in a guest speaker, but just guys that I've known for 5 years, right? And we have a monthly call. Today, one of the guys asked in our entrepreneur group to like the two main guys a question about basically content, or should I be on multiple platforms and not just like LinkedIn, right, for business content? Should my content be everywhere? And the guy's like, yeah, you dummy. Like, why don't you have content everywhere, multiple platforms? Like, why aren't you prevalent on other pieces? And he's like, well, it just like never seemed to work and all this other stuff. And first, for like most of these guys, I was like, guys, we talked about this like 2 years ago. Why haven't you, and like some of you have stopped doing some stuff. Like, why aren't you doing anything? What the hell? I'm like, yeah, I have been doing this longer than all of you because I started the podcast in 2019. Well, I deleted the first 3 episodes, so to be fair, because they echoed, because I did it on a GoPro, plugged it in the computer, and then it recorded both on the GoPro and on the computer, so it echoed through that, and clearly I never listened to it because I just posted it, but that got me started, right? It was terrible, and I did delete them, so you cannot listen to that, because the reverb was so bad. Even on a reverb like edit, it was like, oh, this is just bad. So anyway, but I started at a dude's, Nate Westberg. You can go back and listen to old episodes, who's a painter out here. And we started in February of 2019 in his living room. And that's how we started the podcast, and just been going ever since. You know, there's been weeks where I haven't posted or whatever. And now we're at 2 times a week, right? Like, it is a very consistent effort for the podcast, and you become better. But the thing is, in doing it, I can now string a thought together really well. I can speak really well. I can make eye contact with a camera really well because I have been doing it for so long. I'm so consistent for it. And now, as an engineer, going and talking in front of crowds and being in front of people, my stage presence is better. My ability to speak is way better. And I have built this skill and muscle over the last almost 7 years now, which is crazy. 7 years from 2019 to now, of just showing up week after week, having conversations, doing the podcast. And it is the thing that has been the most consistent for me over the years, right? My posting or whatever has ebbed and flowed over the years. My writing articles has ebbed and flowed, but doing the podcast has been very consistent for me over the last 7 years. And frankly, shit, most people aren't in a relationship for 7 years, let alone do a podcast, like, which is also crazy. So when we think about all of these parts and pieces, like, it is the one, ability to make a decision, and 2, the ability to stay with that decision, and 3, staying with it for a very long time. Not just like, oh, I made a decision. Yes, I'm halfway in and halfway out, and I'm going to quit this when it's convenient. It's like, no, this is the path. This is the way forward. And yes, you're going to suck. Yes, you're not going to get results. Yes, you're not going to be that good up front. But like, you look at a guy like Mr. Beast, Jimmy Donaldson he's been doing this for 15 years now or whatever. And that's why he's the #1 YouTuber. He also works way harder and puts in way more hours than everybody else. So you'd think he'd be better. 15 years plus 100+ hour weeks equals pretty good with concerted effort, and he improves on everything, right? He gets feedback, improves every video, looks at every piece, figure out every angle, right? Like, they figure out how to do it better every single time. And this is where most guys too, like, they don't get feedback from, hey, these are the trending posts or topics. These are the things that we should talk about. This is how the videos that we should do. Or on the other side, like when we talk about strategic decision making, what types of videos do you want your audience to know about you, right? In the construction industry, like, I want you to know that I'm an electrical engineer and we do design build for electrical contractors, right? Vertical Design Services is built for electrical contractors. That is what we do. So that's what I want you to know. So I talk about projects in that way. I talk about things in that context. Like, let's build some shit. This is what we want to talk about. This is what we want to do. So not only do you get better in just speaking and talking and making a decision, but you continue to do it time and time again, and you get better the more you do it. Through all of this, it really comes down to a few things. One is make a decision, right? Make a decision, choose the path that you're going to go, choose the way that you're going to go, and stick to it and do it for a very long time, right? If at the end of 10 years, so let's use an example. So let's say that you started a podcast. Podcasts weren't really around when you started doing them. Then after, say, 10 years and I don't know, give or take 1,000 episodes of interviewing some friends and people that you find interesting on the internet or whatever else, and you bring them to your studio. And then in 10 years, you get a paycheck for, say, 100 million from a little old company called Spotify. Would you think that's worth it? Most people would say it is. I think Joe Rogan also thinks it's worth it. Biggest podcaster in the world, biggest audience, and that's what it took him. Nobody cared for 5 years of him doing podcasts. 5 years, and because I think he puts out like 3 a week. So that's 150 a year. So 450, 500 episodes. Nobody cared for 500 episodes. And he was the host of Fear Factor. Like, dude was already on TV at this point. He'd already been announcing most like UFC fights. Granted, UFC's gotten bigger over time too. But like, he's been on TV at that point for 10, 15 years, right? And still nobody cared. So this is what it means to like, you got to keep on the path. You got to get better as you go. But really in construction, like this is the other thing for guys that are in the industry that maybe want to do something. If you got one client out of it, all right, so let's go down this whole path. So if you got one client out of it, let's say that you're a general contractor, you got one client, and let's say it was a $10 million building, which is kind of small, but let's say it's a $10 million building. Okay, and you make 5% as your standard fee. Okay, well, that's 500 grand in profit, right? Or revenue. Let's say that you make 5% on it. So your net to you, right, after all the subcontractors, everybody else, 10 million, you keep 500 grand. So it's 500 grand worth talking into a microphone once a week. I don't know, it's pretty good. 10 grand a week. Like a lot of people do that. Now it might take you a couple of years to get that one project, but when you do, that's a pretty good return on investment. So, and then it would just build from there, right? Let's say you got $100 million project. Well, now that 500 grand is now 5 million. Like this is an order of magnitude problem. Let's say you landed $1 billion project. What does that get you, right? On 5%. It's $50 million net. Like, come on, guys. Think about like what you get out of doing all these media podcasts, thinking through a lot of this stuff. And a lot of it ultimately is just clarity of thought. Like how clear do you think about what you're doing, the market you're serving, the people that you're wanting to be your clients? Like for us in vertical design services and helping electrical contractors, like, dude, at the end of the day, it's all about getting them things on time, quoting things for them appropriately, teaching them, right? So that they can go and sell their clients because they're in front of the customer. I'm 2 levels back. Like the electrical contractor is the guy that is selling the general contractor, the owner, or whoever it might be. So the more that I can teach them, the more that I can empower them on what I know for projects, or we work through design details together. Like I just worked through a pole-based detail for site lighting, and man, I took out probably 5 grand out of each pole base, right? Between we minimized the amount of rebar that we're going to put in there. I minimized some grounding that we're putting in there, really simplified that piece. I added, some other details around the HDPE, right? That flex conduit that they're going to put in there, that they can use that instead of just PVC, which makes it a lot easier for them. I simplified all the grounding and bonding for it. Like all of those pieces brought like probably 5 grand worth out of a pole. And that might not seem like a lot in relation to a construction project, but when you ultimately put all that together, let's say that you had 10 or 15 poles on a given project, 10 poles, that's 50 grand saved on a detail. So all these little parts and pieces matter, and how much you're basically being able to pull out of a project or work with for us, it's working with our contractor partners. So they save money on it. Our details are simpler. It works for them. We make it their company standard for it moving forward, which allows us to we move faster. It saves them money, saves them effort, saves them time, everything else that goes into a simple thing like a site pole detail. So as we move forward, as a company, we're making decisions together. We're moving forward together. And that's how we want to collaborate with our electrical contractor partners. Like, look, man, you got a better way to do this? I'm all ears. Let's edit our details. Let's help you or create a standard for you and your team on, this is the manufacturer you want to use, right? Whether it's Siemens, Eaton, Square D, I don't care. Whatever's easier for you, whatever you have better relationships with. Cool, man. Like, that works for me. For conduit wire, I know for some of our guys, they're going to use aluminum over 100 amps. So anything over 100 amps, they're going to go aluminum. Anything under, they're going to go copper. Okay, cool. That's the detail. Here it is, right? And so we continue to iterate and help these guys, but it all comes down to it's simple decision-making processes, right? We make a decision, we go with it, we run with it. It gets incorporated into our standards, which helps everybody along the way. And I think far too many people oh, I got an idea. Oh man, should I do that idea? You became a stoner. Even if you don't smoke weed, you're just oh dude, the idea fairy hit me, but I don't know what I'm going to do with it, man. It's dude, make a decision, go decide. You think it's a good idea, run with it, see what happens. You can always change later. And there's the whole thing of one-way and two-way doors, right? Is it an irreversible decision, or is it a super painful? It's maybe irreversible, it's maybe reversible, but it is painful, right? Like choosing your spouse, your wife, that should be a one-way door, right? It is reversible, but very painful, right? Divorce is no good, or when you find your shit on the front lawn, no good. So do shit to not make that happen, right? Which is why, at night, I try to spend a couple hours with my wife and be very present, very there, so that, that doesn't happen. I like my shit in my house, not on my lawn. So a lot of guys, it just comes down to these simple things, man. Make a decision, go with it, and you're going to be so much better off for just running. And then if you get new information or things are a little different, then tweak your outcome. But don't stop selling. Don't stop getting after it. Don't stop doing all the things that made you successful and brought your company to a given point. You can't stop selling. You have to keep going. And so, because everybody sees a new guru, a new guy, a new whatever. And trust me, I've been there. I've run through the gauntlet of it. And I am speaking from experience on a lot of this shit, man. Just go. Do the things that you are great at. Those guys became great at the things that they're doing, and you're not them. So don't try to go down the same path. Use their lessons, right? Use my lessons. Use the things that have bit me in the ass. You're going to talk a whole different way than I am. And in the beginning, you're going to suck at talking. So get better. And especially for presentations and everything else, shed the thing of holding back who you are. Jesus Christ, man, people love you for who you are. It's and speaking of Jesus, they crucified that guy. So you can say whatever the hell you want, man. More than likely, these trolls on the internet aren't going to buy from you anyway. Be who you are, be authentic to who you are. And people are either going to like you or hate you. You've probably said some dumb shit in front of your friends, but they forgive you for it, man, because they like the rest of you, or they like the majority of you enough. Or you might disagree with some things, but that's okay too. And this is construction, man. People are going to disagree, or you're going to go back and forth. Dude, I spent 3 days going over a light-based detail. Again, how crazy is that? 3 days, but it's going to save so much money for these guys in the long run. Right? So those 3 days just on this simple project of whatever, 10 bases, that's 50 grand saved, real money. And so I think we overthink just going and doing stuff, man, because you might look silly. So what? Who cares? Again, you go back and look at my first podcast or posts, they're probably bad. Like today, I even made fun of myself because in the video I did looked a little fuzzy. My hair's crazy because I've been pulling it out because it's the first of the year and everybody wants something. But like, this is what we signed up for, man. You do what you have to do to get through. And so, yeah, we're going to work a bunch of hours. I signed up for it. I learned a ton. I've made a bunch of better relationships this week and joke with guys about it. I'm like, you probably don't want to hear from me again, but at least it's not this guy. And so like, that's just part of it, man. Have some fun, joke about it, and it's not serious all the time. Told a guy to like have a couple scotches and, don't screw up painting his wife's yoga studio too bad, or his daughter's yoga studio too bad. So it's just like, come on, man. Like, we can have some fun here. We can enjoy it. But it all comes down to like, just make decisions, man. Don't sit on those. It really wrecks you. And a lot of it is just being like authentic to who you are. I'm telling you, on the other side of it, like, it feels so much better to just be you. It really does. I've never felt as much like peace internally. Like, yeah, do I have some stress with projects or whatever? Sure. But I have never felt like so much peace internally, because right now all my projects are in a pretty good place, which helps. But like, projects are in a good place. I'm doing what's so aligned to me and who I am, which I get is hard for a lot of people to like get to that place in life. But like, I can do what I want. I run the company, but it's also like, it's clients that I like, guys I like working for. Yes, we have tight deadlines and tight turnarounds because we work for contractors. So everything is here and now, because planning is not always there, or just the speed of construction, man. Like, people need stuff in a whole different timeline than like traditional design. So it's a lot harder, but again, it's so much more rewarding, right? Because we're working with the guys that are building it, are executing that work, and helping them through it, right? Of what they've got to do, of where they need to go, of what works for them. And to me, it's been so much more rewarding to have those conversations with guys, to be able to talk like this on all platforms, because it's so freeing, right? And you guys need to know this stuff. There's a handful of us talking about what actually goes on in the industry. There's a handful of construction podcasts, but like, nobody really talks about like how painful it is, how much time or how fast everything has to be turned around, how little like details and can save you a ton of money on across projects, right? Like, we're going to save that client hundreds of thousands of dollars in light-based details. Just simple. And I bring that up. It might be a silly example, but it's been this week, and a very prudent example of how a small little change on details can save a ton of money. But this is the thing, like, most engineers aren't ever going to know. It's just their standard detail, and they might hear some guys complain about it, but they don't really ever know what the output or outcome of those things are. So for a lot of you guys, and again, this whole thing started around make decisions. For these guys that I was talking to, they'd been sitting on this thing for years, right? Hadn't really done it. And it's like, come on, man. Like, what are we talking about? And like, yeah, it's work. It's hard. Getting in front of camera is hard. Yeah, you're going to sound bad. Making content's rough. The internet can be a rough place. Like, some guy thought that I was being satirical in what I'm talking about. I'm like, dude, no, this is like real business. This is real shit. This is not, do I joke? Some? Absolutely. That is part of who I am. I make snide and smart ass little comments, but it's in jest, and most of them are like at me, right? Or about the industry. Like, it's nobody in particular. And so, yeah, you're going to get jokers, but who cares, man? Who cares? On the same exact clip, some guy that I actually know in real life and actually respect sent that same thing to his entire team. Okay, I'm on the right track. I'm doing the right thing. I'm putting out the right content. So for a lot of you guys, like, just start, man. Like, you have so much knowledge that you just need to share. So do it.